know, she was saying that, but we said no.
It's my first night in a while, too. All right. Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. We'd like to call the Sutton School Committee meeting to order. Prior to that, we have to read the hybrid opening statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's February 15, 2022 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the school committee is in a hybrid format with both in-person and Zoom components. To join the meeting, please visit www.zoom.us/join and enter meeting ID 875-2127-2821. The passcode for the meeting is 623-829. The meeting will be broadcast and recorded on local public access station Verizon 31 and Charter Spectrum 191, and live streamed on the town's YouTube channel when available. A recording of the meeting will be available on the town's website and YouTube channel. The meeting has been called to order. May I ask each member to state their name and whether they are attending in person or remotely?
Ben Gibbons, in person.
Paul Brennan in person.
Nate Jerome, in person.
Peter Tufts in person.
All right, first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item on the agenda is Citizens Forum. At this time, we welcome anyone to come forward with items they'd like to bring to school committee. Please, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for coming.
My name is Paul Schaefer. I live at 10 Exbridge Road in Sutton. I notice on the agenda that you're going to be discussing school choice this evening. And I'm here to voice my recommendation or hopes that I am in favor of school choice. In looking at the governor's budget, our education funding from in the governor's budget is down $50,000 from last year. Our enrollments continue to go down. So the pressures that's going to be on budgets for holding the line are can be harsh. What I like about school choice is it offers the school committee the opportunity to maintain flexibility and be able to react to conditions as they present themselves each year. We obviously have the capacity to handle the additional students, and our fixed costs are our fixed costs, whether the students go up or down. And I think that the school committee and the administration really needs the ability and the flexibility that the school choice program offers to each school district. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate the words. Anyone else like to come forward? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, including the minutes from March 21st and the bill schedules from March 17th and March 24th.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor, roll call vote.
Gibbons, aye.
Brennan, aye.
Jerome, aye.
Tufts, aye.
It passes 4-0. Next item on the agenda, always a good one, the student update from the elementary school. Welcome. We have Bennett and Chloe joining us tonight. Thanks for coming. What do you have to share tonight?
Good evening. My name is Bennett Darling. I am in the 5th grade. Thank you for letting me talk at this meeting. I wanted to talk about how I've had a good time not wearing masks everywhere. In school, we still have kids and teachers wearing masks, and nobody is making comments to people with masks still on. My teacher is Miss Fitzgerald, and in class we have been reading books on the Revolutionary War. Everyone has picked a book that interests them, and now that everybody is finished, we have started a project. The project was to create a newspaper about your book. There had to be a summary article, a character feature story, and an editorial. We've just finished the readathon. The readathon is over a 2-week period where students can log their reading minutes and can earn prizes and collect pledges. There was a lot of participation in 5th grade. I'm also in the 5th grade band with Miss Dame, and I play the trombone. Everybody in the band was excited for the winter concert and to play songs for our parents. We were also excited because we had some amazing pieces to play. Our next concert is going to be even more exciting because of the variety of pieces that we are playing. Like our first song is slow, but our second song is very aggressive. Next, I wanted to talk about Enrichment, which is a 4-week after-school program run by the PTO. I did the Lego Technic in Robotics, and in week 3, we got to see the 2020 and 2021 robot that the high school and middle school robotics team built. It was so fascinating to hear about the robot, and I'm thinking about joining the team at middle school. Thank you for your time and letting me talk about my experiences in elementary school.
Thank you. Hi,
Hello.
Chloe.
Hello, I hope all your nights are going well. I'm Chloe Robbins and a 5th grade student at Sutton Elementary School. Tonight I am sharing some important events about going on at our school. Most people are pleased with the mandate for masks being lifted. It is more comfortable, but some students still prefer to wear theirs. After over 2 years of having COVID-19 roaming around, I feel things at the elementary school are becoming more normal like it used to be before COVID. Now that COVID is slowing down, we are able to do more activities like field trips and being able to work in table groups again. Band and chorus are back in place like it used to be, and the 5th grade band and chorus will be performing in May. Also, there is a 3rd and 4th grade Memorial Day concert. One recent event was the Green Bean Play, which went very well. We had our winter sessions of map testing in math and reading. MCAS starts on April 12th. In 5th grade math, we are now learning about multiplying decimals and fractions. In reading, we have a choice of 2 books to read in class. The first one is Sophia's War by Abby. It takes place in New York, and Midnight Rider by Joanne Hitt Harlow, which takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. These books go along with our social studies unit on the American Revolution. We are working with mold terrariums in science. In my class, Miss Bott's class, we are testing bread, cheese, strawberries, blackberries, bananas, and raspberries for mold. My 5th grade year has been excellent so far, and I am pleased to be attending the school. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing weekend.
Thank you for coming. We might have a few questions for you. Is that okay? All right.
All right, I guess I'm up first. Well, thanks. It obviously takes a lot to probably come before this committee and make some comments, so thanks for doing that. I don't have any questions, actually. I think you did a great job summarizing exactly what your experience has been like, and that's exactly what we're here to listen for.
Yeah, thanks for coming. If you could, I'm curious, are you looking forward to a new school next year? Or you
Yes.
like the idea of going to 6th?
Yeah.
If you could do one thing better or different in 5th grade, would it be bigger classroom, more kids, less kids? I know, no masks.
I don't know.
Everything's perfect. Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, again, this is the best part about school committee is hearing what is actually happening in the school, not just talking about numbers. And you're the only ones who ever talk about what you're actually learning, which is wonderful. Like, we're so out of touch with all of that. We're not in school, so it's great, just great to hear, and makes us feel more part of things. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, as they all said, we really appreciate you both coming. That's the reason why we're here, to make sure that you have these offerings at school. It's always great to hear all the neat things that the school's offering. I'm really excited, Bennett, that you're looking forward to joining a club next year. That's great. It's nice to have something to look forward to. And I'm curious, the mold, how did that go?
Well, it is of a 12-day period, and my teacher decided that doing the weekends wouldn't be so fair since we wouldn't be able to record it on those days. And I mean, I get her point, but 12 school days is kind of long, especially for mold. And most of the teams are doing pretty well so far. The recent data that we've collected is that it's sitting in the sunlight in the windowsill is much more effective for growing mold. So if you ever have cheese, do not put it in the sunlight. My team put it in the refrigerator, and most of the stuff is moldy in there. But doing it is pretty fun, pretty quick, pretty easy.
You take some of those tips back home, right?
Could make the newspaper.
That's
Throwing
right.
mold in the schools, that'll make the newspaper.
Did you have any questions for us? Any recommendations?
Nope.
No? Well, we're here and you're always welcome back. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next up on the agenda is the high school update with Caroline and Brian. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to see you again.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well.
So as you said, I'm Caroline Lambert. I'm a junior here at Sutton, and a few things that are happening, that have happened actually. Our spring fling happened on Friday. It was a big success. A bunch of people came. Well, we also last week had mini Olympics and Spirit Week, which was very fun to be back together and have a pep rally again. It actually in the gym instead of outside like it was at homecoming. We also hosted a connections conference, which was a big success. A lot of people came from surrounding districts. And we also are now having our mock exams for our AP classes within this month. And also the seniors just left on Friday for their internships. So now there's no more seniors at school, which is very weird because there's a lot less people at the school.
Yeah, as she said, everything's going well. Now that they left, there's also more parking spots back in the back in the student lot. But no, everything's going good. Especially like Bennett and the other kids said. Now that masks are gone, it's much better as opposed to how it was before. Learning's going very good. In Spanish class right now, we actually just went on a field trip to Bocados, which is a Spanish restaurant in Worcester. And like our whole class went there. So like 50 kids ate there. It was pretty cool. And then we also just did some projects in there as well, where we cooked certain Spanish foods because we had to pretend we were going to a certain country, a Spanish-speaking country. So it was it's really cool, really interesting. And along with that too, spring sports are now starting up. There's not much. I don't think we've had any games yet between any of the sports because they just started. But it's tennis, softball, baseball, track. Cross, I believe. Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, but everything's going well, especially now, like Caroline said, now that masks are gone and everything's back to normal and we can actually do fun stuff like spring fling and mini Olympics.
Excellent.
Thank you. Well, I guess I'll start us off and just say thanks for the updates. Obviously, it's good. We all say that every time, but it's true. What's up? I mean, you're going to be seniors, so what are you looking forward to most next year, other than maybe having better parking spaces, I guess?
I think maybe just take new classes and have just the senior experience.
Yeah, what she said. Kind of like, I feel like a more of a relaxed year as opposed to other years. Getting all like the necessary classes done. It's kind of like take what you want for the electives and stuff. And just kind of like, it's also exciting knowing what's going to happen after high school, et cetera too. So just like that as well.
Yeah, it's the start of a new chapter.
Who won the Olympics?
We came in last.
Rough subject, but the seniors actually won.
Well, the seniors always win, right? It's second that we're.
Yes.
They tied with sophomores, but then they just declared seniors.
Yeah.
Seniors won, but we did not do too well.
No.
Next year.
It's a gimme next year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so that works out. I assume senior year, are you guys looking forward to the internships, thinking about that? Are you-
Yeah.
Yes, very excited.
What do you do to get ready for that?
I think you plan more of it next year because we have a teacher, Mr. Marcucci, who he plans out a lot of that and helps like all the students one-on-one. So I think it's more of a next year kind of thing, and he sets it all up. But I know a bunch of the seniors that, like Caroline said, they all just left on like Friday, but some of them stuck around because I think they're doing internships in school, watching the teachers, and then other people are just staying because AP classes and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's really cool to see because majority of the senior class does internships. And so it's really cool to see that we have that opportunity to be in the actual world working and doing things that we might want to do in the future.
Yeah, don't rush. The college application, same thing, not worried yet, or
Not worried yet.
I haven't.
somebody's
done-
gonna make you
haven't done
write
much yet.
an essay sooner or later to get you ready for that, yeah.
Speaking of
Yes.
Marcucci.
Okay. And then connections, you said went great. Every year we hear something great about it. Something new, different that you thought was really special about it that you heard, or?
I personally did not attend,
Yeah.
but I heard a lot of people were saying how it was really cool just to collaborate with new people, especially after COVID, not being able to have one the past, I think, 2 years. So it was really cool to just bring that back and collaborate with new people. And I heard a lot of the workshops went really well, and they were very interactive, which is really positive.
Yeah, I personally did go, and everything I heard from all the other schools and from what even our teachers said, that from what they heard from other schools, all of them enjoyed it. They all were like, oh my God, your school's so welcoming. Everything's so good about it. And I thought all the workshops went well. I only went to I think we could only go to 2. But from what I saw, everybody loved it. Everybody there was friendly. It was great. And we did this thing in the gym too, where you had a keynote speaker, and there's literally the whole auditorium was packed, and they had a t-shirt slingshot thing. It was pretty fun. It was very cool.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any interest in guitar lessons or sewing or robotics next year?
I am taking guitar lessons, actually.
All right.
I am taking that with Mr.
All right.
Mr. Marcucci.
Good to hear.
Excited to do that.
That's pretty cool.
Those classes are full.
Excellent.
Wow, that's great.
Excellent.
It's good to see the interest.
That's it. I just want to make sure everyone's got guitar lessons.
Tough thing going last. All the questions asked. So, pep rally. I'd ask, is it back to normal? But is this your first pep rally? The last 2 years have been a little.
No, we
crazy.
had one freshman year homecoming, I think it was.
Okay.
We're actually just having this whole discussion because we never in high school had a mini Olympics, and we just had a.
We did. We had it
Was
once.
it?
I know we did it
No
once
fighting.
before.
This is how you don't take the top seat.
But it was really cool to experience.
Yeah. And I like your chances next year. It should go well.
I think we have better chances next year.
The internship, I always find that great because I think you both mentioned that, it gets you to see if you want to do something. The other side to that is you get a chance to try it and figure out, I do not want to do this, which is also very helpful. And then the other question, what did you have at Bocatas that was, you didn't think you were going to eat and you ate it and you're like, okay, and what did you like?
I pretty much like everything, to be honest. So what was really good was the paella, which is pretty much just like a chicken and rice dish. There wasn't. Actually, no, there was something that wasn't that great. It was tortillas, but it's not regular tortillas. It's like Spanish tortillas, which is more like a quiche.
Okay.
But
Yes.
still pretty good. I don't know what you thought about it, Caroline.
No, I agree. I think one of my also favorite things was it was a goat cheese. It was fried.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
so good.
Yeah, that was
You
really
have
good.
to try it.
Yeah. You tried new things.
Exactly.
Any questions for us?
Nope.
No.
Well, as always, thanks for coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is the Project 351 update. I'd like to welcome Levi and Katie. Welcome back, Katie.
Thanks. You know first if you want. I gotta pull up my notes. All right. Hi, I'm Katie Fields. I'm a junior here at Sutton High School. I've been part of Project 351 since I was in 8th grade, and you'll hear more about the 8th grade experience from Levi after. But in the last few years, I've been part of what is called the Alumni Leadership Council, and there's a bunch of different roles you can take part within that. Freshman year, I was part of the regional service team, and we met in Worcester and helped out at the Mustard Seed Food Bank. And then last year, which was super exciting, I had been excited for that since 8th grade, I was in AMC, which stands for Alumni Mentor Corps. So I was a mentor to 8 8th grade ambassadors. So if they had any questions or anything, I was their team leader, and it was an incredible experience. My ambassadors were from all over Massachusetts, and we met after launch day. We met a couple of times throughout the year and talked about different things. I helped them plan out their service projects and answered any questions they had, and got to meet some absolutely amazing kids. And then this year, I'm part of the Regional Unity Corps, which is, we call it the RUC because that's the acronym. But I work with one other person at my position and a regional leader. And our region is a relatively small grouping of towns in our area, and we all meet together and do service. So as my job, I work as the little triangle with our leader and our 2 Unity Corps, and we plan service projects, and we get the other alumni that aren't part of the Alumni Leadership Council or aren't part of the RUC or RL, and we all do service projects together, helping out our community. We just did a MLK service for MLK weekend, and we made Hope and Comfort blankets, I believe. And I'm really bad with names of things. I sincerely apologize. But they were the felt blankets that you cut and tie the edges on, and those went to an organization of our choosing, and they generally are for people just in need in any variety because the region chooses. And I believe we chose ours to go to people that are struggling with like mental health situations, because they're comforting. And we also made cards for a Project 351 member who was recently diagnosed with cancer and a very severe form of cancer and is struggling. So we all made cards to make sure that he knows we are here for him and we are hoping for the best for him. And we also made postcards for our ambassadors that were coming in this year. And upcoming, we are going to do a cleanup in Worcester for Earth Day. So that is what I've been up to with Project 351.
Do you know exactly what that cleanup's going to be? Or has that not been decided?
We do. You guys should be getting an email really soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Levi. I am the ambassador for 351 this year. Sorry if I'm just looking down and tapping my phone. It keeps shutting off. I don't know how much everybody knows about 351, but for those who don't know what it is, it's basically 351 chooses ambassadors with commitment to leadership and service, and like people who are like silent leaders and things like that. And I was lucky enough to be chosen as the Sutton ambassador this year. This is the 12th class of ambassadors, so it's over 1 million people have served. For me personally, sorry, what I've done in 351 is so far I've attended the had to be virtual due to COVID, but the virtual launch. I've gone through almost all their meetings. I attended the online playbook, which is like they give you a bunch of scenarios and you figure out how to, like easier kind ways to solve them. And they had a one-day extension of that at the Auerbach Center, and I signed up and I got randomly selected, so I went and I experienced that, which was quite amazing. I'm currently leading a spring service clothing drive throughout the school, which, due to a lot of brainstorming, has been an amazing success. And the one thing I have coming up that I'm looking forward to is the reunion in June at Gillette.
Excellent.
That's a lot of fun.
Right, you up for a few questions?
Of course.
Yeah, thanks. That was actually my first introduction to Project 351, so it was cool background to know exactly what you were involved in and the service things that go on. I guess I'd just be curious about, so you obviously have quite a bit of experience with 351.
Yeah.
Levi, you're pretty new, but do you see yourself kind of continuing through with 351, and how do you think that's kind of shaped the rest of your school experience?
I think it's very influential. It's very helpful for me, seeing as, I'm meeting a lot of people like-minded. And, I know I'm always, if I continue with this, which I most likely will, I'm going to have a community to fall back on when necessary. And I know I've already made a couple of friends, and I know I've got people who have my back, who know me from a different standpoint than, per se, my school friends.
Let's go.
All right, so the first one, what is 351?
you want me to explain it?
Yeah, you're probably going to be better at explaining that than I am.
So, what I always say when people ask, because this is my 4th year as part of Project 351, I've had a lot of questions. It is a statewide youth-led community service group where each year every one of the 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts nominates an 8th grade ambassador, and they join forces and do a variety of community service projects. Our main 3 are spring service, as Levi talked about, and we do 9/11 tribute service, which is usually putting together gift packs. Like, we send in items for care packages for veterans, and we also write cards. And then we have fall service, which is food drives for our local food pantries.
Jeez, I'm gonna need to record you saying that, so every time somebody asks me, I'm gonna have to say that, because I do
I
not
got
go
you.
into as much detail.
I got you.
On your 4th year, you'll be all set.
Yeah, I'll figure it out eventually.
Who knew 351 communities, huh? That's all right. Just a couple of thoughts. One, I would think that you both maybe are getting a sense of the leadership development. It shows in both of you. I think it's just one more thing that the school's helping, but you guys are really showcasing wonderfully, which is great to see. And then the only other thing I would say, you mentioned the random selection, and maybe there was some random nature, but I think the work you've done and your very nature got you in the position to get that random selection. So
Thank
that's
you.
congratulations.
No, the second I heard that was up for grabs, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't think I'm gonna miss out on that.
You only miss out when you don't try. So that's
No, it wasn't even a thought in my mind to skip. It was just, you know what? Who cares about not going? I'm gonna sign up for that.
good choice.
I think one of the great things about Sutton is how much of a community we are here, but one of the negative things about Sutton is how insular we are, and it's great to have folks outside of the school going to other places, coming back to the school, telling other students and kids, teachers even, and I really appreciate the effort, and it's wonderful. A nice thing to have checked off. Excellent.
Great update. I know, Levi, if I was in your shoes, I'd probably be very scared after hearing all the stuff Katie said. It sounds like a lot.
I haven't even memorized all the acronyms yet. I've only asked once, and I'm assuming I'm gonna have to ask about 20 more times.
Well,
It took me a while to remember what position I got this year. It's okay.
we have seen some unbelievable ambassadors come through here. Project 351 is an amazing program, and the leadership that it creates, and oftentimes it's those students that already have it, and it just enhances it, and it's a really impressive program. I'm proud of you both, and I know the community is. I hope you guys are proud of what you do, because that's just a tremendous thing. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Any questions for us, now that you have the seats? No?
I don't have any.
No, I mean, if anything, I just want to add a little more onto what I was saying about my clothing drive, if anything.
Sure.
I was just gonna say I found huge success in it since we're dealing with middle school age kids, who we figured probably wouldn't do anything on their own. We figured out some sort of incentive to help this along. So candy obviously goes a long way. And then we also did at the TNO, we offered for anybody who donated a bag, they'd get like a free small like cutout square that's like good for a free snack, not pizza, not water, just a snack, free candy, whatever. And that filled up a lot of boxes. We are at the point where both me and Miss Corrin have tried to move them, and the bottom has fallen out.
Oh, well, that's excellent to hear. And candy works on a lot of adults, too.
Yes.
It does. I have, with my spring service, on top of I'm going to help Levi sort this week, but I wanted to let him take the stage for Sutton. So I am friends with a family that is a pastor at a church in Franklin, and I talked to the Franklin AMC last year and her ambassador, and they hadn't really done service at that church, and so I went ahead and put a collection box there, and it's also gotten a bunch of collections because they have a lot of little kids, and adults like candy as well. I was told that something like that, a little enticitiveness would be helpful. But
Definitely looking through some of the poster ideas helped me figure things out. I was looking through posters. It's like, oh, incentive, incentive, incentive. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like, I can't overpromise things. Like, at the end of the day, we have one major goal, which is we're hopefully gonna do like a movie night for the winning grade, where they get to choose the movie, and we're also gonna be selling snacks, also to donate the money to Cradle Scrans for spring service. That's hopefully, I don't know what's gonna come of that, but hopefully all goes well.
You don't want to miss it. Well, thank you both for coming. Great updates. And if you do have something in the future that you need to get the word out, even if you're not on the agenda, feel free to let us know, let the superintendent know, and we'll make sure we share the information.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the superintendent search update. And we'd like to welcome Tracy Novick from MASC.
And you also need your search
And
here.
Kara.
Good evening. It's good to be back before you again.
To see you.
And I am wearing a mask because you are the third or fourth district that I'm in this week. So you don't, there apparently are still things that are circulating. So you don't need them on my behalf. I'm actually going to start by turning this back over to Kara.
Hello. I am going to present the candidates. The Sutton Superintendent Search Committee met on Thursday, March 10th, for orientation as to their responsibilities during and after the search within law and regulation. During this session, the Sutton Search Committee elected their own chair. On a motion from Ted McCarthy, Sutton High School principal, I was elected. Applications for the Sutton Superintendency were due on Friday, March 11th. 23 applications were received. Members of the Sutton Search Committee received access to the applications submitted on Friday evening. They reviewed the applications independently on March 12 and 13. The Sutton Search Committee met in executive session on Monday, March 14th. The committee deliberated regarding the choice of semifinalists, choosing to interview 8 semifinalists. The committee interviewed the selected semifinalists in executive session on Tuesday, March 22nd, Wednesday, March 23rd, and Thursday, March 24th. Following the final interview on Thursday, the committee deliberated regarding the finalists. On a unanimous vote, the search committee recommends the following slate of finalists, all of whom have agreed to move forward. Michael Belladarce, Assistant Superintendent at Woburn Public Schools. Jody Fortuna, Recovery Academic Director at Boston Public Schools. Brett Costigian, Superintendent at Quabog Regional Public Schools. And lastly, Kimberly Roberts-Morandi, Assistant Superintendent at North Adams Public Schools. Applications for materials of each finalist may be found on a link provided. All finalists are prepared to welcome non-quorum sets of Sutton School Committee members for visits to their districts. All finalists also will visit Sutton to tour the schools, meet with central office staff, and greet the public. Following visits in both directions, the Sutton School Committee will conduct interviews with all finalists before selecting the next superintendent of the Sutton Public Schools.
So that is the meat of our report this evening for you. Let me just add a couple of comments. First of all, Kara's already heard me say this several times, but I've been doing searches now for 6 years. This is my first experience with the search committee that elected their student representative as their chair. And so first of all, you should be proud of both your students and of your search committee. I will say, by the way, that it changes the atmosphere in a room when a superintendent applicant comes into a room and finds that the chair of the committee is actually a student of the district. There's no doubt that the district is taking student voice seriously in those circumstances. So I commend you on that behalf. I do want to note, all of you have received an email from me. I've heard back from a couple of you regarding your availability over the next couple of weeks. It really does, as was noted, shift to the responsibility of the school committee at this point. And I have already been in contact with all of the finalists again today regarding their availability of the coming this week and next week as well. My hope for you all would be to get the visits in ahead of April vacation. And again, if you reply to that email, I can do the juggling accordingly. I also have the schedule, because of course, when it comes to scheduling, you're in excellent hands as always, in terms of when the district can receive people and when they cannot. The only additional comment that I did want to make, because I try to make sure that you have all of the information that might be useful to you. I did want to note that the Leicester School Committee is also meeting this evening. Dr. Castigian is also a finalist in Leicester. And they are pretty much on a parallel schedule with you at this point.
I can't imagine anybody would go to Leicester when they could go to Sutton.
I'm going to refrain from comment. I have the Leicester search as well. But we're happy to take any questions.
Ben?
Well, I think first, and it's probably pretty obvious, but I think it should be said anyways, thanks. And that feels really underwhelming, I know, but I personally have sat in on a few different search committees for various positions, and I don't think I've ever reviewed that many applications at one time for a role. So I think that speaks obviously to the two of you, but also to the entire committee.
It does.
So thanks to everyone, whether you're listening or not, just for the work that went into that. I think it would be good for both us as a committee and just probably the public just to know a little bit more about kind of the process. Obviously, we don't want you to expose anything that came about in kind of executive privilege session, but if there are some things that you think might be helpful for the general way that you went about finding these 4 finalists for us, that might be a good start, I think, to this conversation.
So the application review process, first of all, honestly happens on the search committee's own time. And then they're told to come in with effectively the question that I ask them is, who is it that they want to have a conversation with? And so that is what the members of the search committee decided amongst themselves when they decided who to interview. They also created the list of questions that they wanted to actually conduct in the interview, which I would be happy when we move forward into creating your interview to share with you, just so that you can know what finalists already have been asked. And you can obviously then decide whether that question has already been asked or whether that's something that you wish to parallel. They had packets that actually had each question and had a rating system on it, which is something I'll also prepare for you when we get to that point. And then effectively the question that was asked again of them is, who did they want to put forward? And they had a pretty extensive conversation about who were there, who was it that they in particularly felt strongly about. I will say, by the way, it was a very, this is not something I'm just saying, I don't say this all the time, it was a very collegial group. It was a committee that worked very, very well together and was thoughtful in making sure that all voices were heard. Sometimes that's something that the chair really has to manage, and I don't want to speak on Kara's behalf, but I think that wasn't something that needed to be called attention to. It was something that the group did very naturally.
I'm good.
Yeah, thank you. Having sat through a Saturday of interviews and screening, it's a lot of work, and for the entire team, I hope you'll pass on our thanks. Appreciate getting it down to what I'm sure are 4 excellent candidates. Just a logistics piece, I would guess I deleted that email.
I'd be happy to send it to you again.
Thank you.
Sure. And actually, I'm trying to think. I know Mr. here. We've got 3 members? 4 members of the search committee that are actually here. So, right? Am I missing anyone?
Yep.
There may be others that are at home. And it's all, also you were unusual in actually having 2 members of the search committee, 2 student members as well. So that was well. Yeah, I can certainly send another email.
Can you send it to everybody just in case?
Certainly.
Or I guess send it to Di and, yeah.
Should I note that Nathan's actually already gotten back to me, or was that like putting you into being too much of a good doobie? Yes, and your finalists are also in the process of effectively doing the same thing on their end of when can they come and when can they receive you. But I do think that there's some possibility of you being able to get some of this actually completed even this week. And then the conversation that we will need to have is having done that, then when can we schedule you to have interviews with them? And whether you want to try to do that over 2 evenings, 1 evening. 1 evening's kind of a lot for 4 interviews. I'd recommend that you not do that. But that really is, again, at your discretion.
Can I just ask what
Sure.
these visits, the non-quorum visits, what are we looking for? What are
Sure.
Who are we talking to? Contemporaries? Are we talking to students? What are we looking to garner from the visit?
So part of what I will share with you is those of who are on the search committee are familiar with the giant question packet that we have available. But you'll get that, which actually then has an addendum, which is just for visits. What I have told them is that you will want to get as broad a perspective of their candidacy as possible through visiting the district. So certainly that should include those who work with them. In the case of the assistant superintendents, you'll want to actually also, if possible, meet with their superintendent. I say that school committee members like to meet with school committee members, gives them a perspective that's parallel to their own. And then recommend that they give you an opportunity to meet with parents, with teachers, with students, to the degree that they have relationships with the municipal side, also to give you a chance to have that as well. So that is work that they had been starting to work on really just as soon as they accepted their finalist position. And then I sort of gave them an extra nudge again today to say, start looking at this week and next week, and I'll be getting back to you with dates. But really, you're looking to have the conversations about what they have done, how they behave, to give you as much insight as possible into what they would be like as your superintendent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest question mark for us, and it sounds like with some of the materials that you'll be sharing, Paul's the only one on the committee that's been through this before, so for a lot of us, it's also new. We've been fortunate to have 12 years of consistent, so yeah, just really looking forward to knowing, well, we already know the next 2 weeks will be something, but we're excited about it. And again, thank you. Doesn't seem like enough. Really appreciate everybody on the committee. I know you put in a lot of time and effort, and finding these candidates is greatly appreciated. So thank you for your efforts.
Any other questions?
There must be, but.
So the same standing, I think perhaps the search committee got tired of my saying this, but you will think of things as you think of things. You have my telephone number, you have my email. I will send you another email to ask you about your upcoming schedules, but certainly keep in mind. And the other thing that I will do is I know Bruce is out of town. I sent him this actually about 5 minutes ago. He and I spoke earlier, and I said, you can't get it ahead of time, but I'll give it to you at the same time. But if you, I'll make sure that you all have an electronic copy of this as well, which also will then have the link to the online packets. Didn't want to come in with that many photocopies. But it does give you the application. And by the way, this is, we've redacted telephone numbers and emails so that you actually can share this publicly. So it is the application, it is the personal statement, and it is the CV for each of the finalists. And then I can share directly with each of you the full packet and a conversation that we should have at some point, probably as we're scheduling, is if you want me to call the additional references that they have, or if that's something that one of you would like to do. And we don't need to decide that tonight. That's just something that needs to be done over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Just one thought entered my mind. Do we care? Would we proactively try to get any kind of media coverage around finalists named? Are they watching right now?
Well, I know the Millbury Sutton Chronicle tends to be sort of right on top of things. I know they only sort of update every so often, but they seem to be keeping a close eye on you. So.
Right, and I don't know.
I haven't done anything with it, but I mean, certainly you can share this information with them.
Yeah. I don't know whether that makes any difference whatsoever.
It's news.
Yeah. It's a valid thing to bring up, yeah.
So would we ask somebody to notify? I don't even know if anybody reads the Telegram. Well, that's terrible.
I do.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's out there. Yeah, looks good. No, I don't have any other questions. I'm still focused on the visits and the.
As you should be. That
Getting
would
the
be
time.
exactly what I would like you to be focused on right
Yep,
now.
getting the time. Is it generally an all-day type of?
A full school day?
No, it's just it's a
Effectively
busy
a-
time of year for a lot of us.
It
so just
is,
trying
right,
to figure
and
out, yeah.
and I have a new complaint for the state around MCAS, which is that it falls very inconveniently, as far as I'm concerned. Yes, so it would effectively be a school day. So generally, what I tell them, and that's also again why I'm trying to make sure that it happens, because then we lose a week, and
Yep.
Can you do interviews during weeks? Yes, you can't do school visits during a vacation week. So the intent, yes, is for you to be running at least more or less a school day, but not that you're going to be sitting at a school for the whole day. And I do leave it to the candidates. I mean, I give them some guidance, and it's not uncommon for me to have a back and forth with them as they're trying to sort out who is best to include and not include. But it would not be surprising. I mean, that's also kind of the working schedule of most school districts too, right? So that's part of it as well. But I usually say, plan on 8 to 3 or something like that. You can also see the various locations that you would be heading as well. And so there's some that are closer than others. So that's also part of the calculation. And I know that those who are at either end of the state, honestly, will be sensitive to questions of traffic and weather and so forth.
Yeah, it's a lot, but like I said, we'll get the materials, and you already said we can call you and bother you whenever, so thank you very much.
And I know that the search committee also would be happy to talk to you about the finalists as well. They now are released for that much. The rest of it remains confidential, but they certainly can talk about the finalists.
We appreciate that. And I'm
So
sure we'll take it up.
obviously, you're not going to have the same school committee members go to all 4 sites. That would seem unrealistic. Would you think that this would be something you divide and conquer?
Yeah, it will depend on their schedules.
How you do it?
Certainly, yep. But I've already been jotting down sort of who's available which days and to try to mix them up and so forth. Yes. Yep. It would be unusual for someone to go to all 4, but also I try to be sensitive to the fact that some people have more flexible schedules than others, and some people simply can't get time off during the day. So if that is the case of any of you, completely understood. That is the thing.
Who else would participate in the site visit?
So for the site visits where they're going someplace else, it'll just be the school committee, just so that it doesn't become even more for those districts to juggle. In terms of them coming here, that's part of the conversation, honestly, that I've sort of already started, both with Di, and also I had a brief exchange with Bruce about that earlier today. But effectively, you're doing the same sort of thing of them having a chance to visit the schools, them having a chance to meet with the central office. If you wish to set up a meeting of them to meet with either town side officials or other people in the town, that would be something, honestly, that's up to all of you. And that's something that you can share with me, and we can work out a schedule accordingly. At this point, I was first working on days, and then we can figure out what goes into those days.
Timing-wise, we would be able to meet again. I think as a committee, we should have you back and talk about what do we want to do for the interview process or when they're visiting the district.
So we can certainly have a I certainly would be glad to have a conversation about the interview process. I think in terms of the visits, if it's possible for them to even be visiting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, or for you to be visiting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week, I'm working to try to set that up.
Sorry, I was thinking the other way around, when candidates are coming here.
Yep, so you have, partly because of the date, well, you have a half day next Friday, and that's not uncommon. So I haven't actually sorted out all of the Fridays for everybody in every district yet. And everybody is sort of got MCAS happening in some particular portion of things. So those are kind of the first pressures. But in terms of, so in trying to make sure that we get all 4 of them here with the days that you have available, you do kind of need to use some days this week.
Or to have them here.
Yes.
So who would they visit with?
So they would be visiting, they would visit at least all of the schools. And the principals have already been tipped off on this because you gave me the advantage of giving me one of the principals in the search committee. So we actually already had this conversation in passing. So they would do that, and they would have an opportunity to meet with those in the central office. And then if there are others beyond that that you wish to have them meet, if you want to have them meet with a group of students, that's up to you. If you want to have them meet with anyone here on the town side, that's up to you as well. And obviously scheduling.
I would like to see both of those happen if it's at all possible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Logistically, I just keep thinking about there's 4 people.
Yep.
4 different places to visit.
Yes.
In turn, them coming here.
Yep.
Is that a total of 8 days?
It does not have to be, because you can do 2 things at the same time.
Okay.
Or sometimes even 3, depending on how many
Yeah.
of you can go on the same day. Yes. So that is why I have, partly also why I've started as early as I have, because I, of course, need to keep track of where everybody is on which days.
And we could be visiting, you could go to a school and visit a site the same time that particular candidate was in Sutton. Is that-
Generally, it wouldn't be the same candidate, because the candidates generally want to at least be
Walk
there
you
to
through.
welcome you. In some cases, they want to introduce you, although they're not participating in meetings. But you may have a candidate visiting Sutton while you're visiting a different candidate's district. In fact, I would be surprised if that doesn't happen.
And do you coordinate the visits here, or who sort of puts that together?
Well, so far, Di and I have already been talking a bit about it.
Could I make a strong recommendation in that I think that every candidate should meet the staff after school. We can have the middle school and high school meet at 2 p.m., the Early Learning Center Elementary School at 3 p.m. I think it's very important that they have a chance to sit with them, get to know them, and ask questions.
And the complete staff, not just the teaching staff?
Everybody,
Some.
the staff.
Yeah.
Yes, anybody who would like to meet the candidates.
That makes sense.
Right. In fact, I would add to that actually having that open to the parents and others in the community is actually a really
I think
a nice gesture and a good chance for
In
people to get
the
a chance.
past, we've had it
Mhm.
where there's been an opportunity for parents also.
Yep.
Very important.
I
Very
would
much
err
agree.
on the side of inviting more people from the community than less. And
Absolutely.
That's, I guess, why I can't sort of keep poking at. I get our visit there,
Sure.
but their first experience, the candidate should really get a broad view.
Well, do keep in mind their first introduction to Sutton was the search committee. So
And Ted, when we envision that, I'm trying to think of the way we get that message out to the community. Would that be?
We can do an alert now to parents and say, there'll be a meet and greet for such and such candidates from this time to this time,
And
in
website
the
updates.
high school cafeteria, whatever we choose to do. That's fine.
Okay.
Sure.
And then you would provide some ability to gather feedback from
if
anyone?
you wished me to post a link for a survey, then yes. Generally, I recommend that you make sure that people have to specify under what conditions they met, not only who they met, but where they met them, so that you're not just getting sort of randomness. But yes, that's certainly something that we can do.
So I think not only should folks get a chance to meet, but they should get a chance to offer any feedback they might have. And I prefer it to head straight to you, I believe, so that you can sort of sort out what can move further and
Sure. No, generally then what I would do is bundle it by candidate, so you'd get something from each of them.
right. I just think it's important we ask for everybody's, time. We give them a chance to provide feedback too.
Any other questions? No. Like I said, we'll have them. I
Okay.
know we will. But
Excellent.
again, thank you so much for all the work, and we're excited for the next 2.5, 3 weeks.
Yep.
Excellent.
Nice job. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thanks again. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is the athletics update with Christina Tamala. Welcome.
Hello. All right. So we're going to start out with spring. Tomorrow starts our season with events. We have boys tennis at home, girls tennis away, JV baseball away starting tomorrow. We've been practicing for the first few weeks, mainly indoors, trying to get out on the fields when we can, when they're dry enough, and out running on I guess, the driveways when we can run. So we've been really happy to get started. I was able to, a week and a half ago, take a group of students to Gillette Stadium for a sportsmanship summit. I brought 8 student athletes that attended a variety of workshops and speakers, and we had an amazing view of Gillette Stadium from above, so it was really a great experience for them, not only to learn something, but also to experience this nice venue, so I was happy to do that. Schedules for spring are available not on MIAA anymore. We've switched to Arbiter Sports, and that's arbiterlive.com or the Arbiter Sports app. And I just want to remind people that if you download an Arbiter Sports app that's asking for a password or a username, that is the wrong one. It just shows up on it with a schedule. So Arbiter Sports, it's an A and an S on that one if you're looking at the icon. I'm updating rosters on that website this week. I'm getting finalized rosters from our coaches in the next couple of days. This season, we have 162 student athletes that registered for spring sports. We're down from about 210 in 2019, which was pre-COVID, so down quite a few athletes in grades 7 through 12. Middle school, track and field, which is 7th and 8th graders, is always popular. We have about 46 students. I think there might be actually a couple more. We cap it at 50, mainly because of buses. So that one is always popular. I did have quite a few 6th grade parents, myself included, want to see if there were any options for 6th graders, and we just don't have the space right now. Let's see, baseball, 28 student athletes, JV and varsity. And these are all students that have registered, not necessarily are still with the program. Some of them decided maybe to play something different. Boys tennis at 13. We did include 8th graders, but didn't need to utilize 8th graders at the time. 7th graders, sorry, we do have 8th graders. Softball, grades 7 through 12. We were unable to host a JV team due to numbers, so we are only having 8th through 12th on our varsity softball team. Girls tennis at 15, and high school track and field at 40. I think it's a little less now as far as participants. We did have some student athletes decide their kind of work athlete balance was off, so they decided to do other things. Some of the reasons for number decline, I asked a few students, why not? Many of them cited that they were working or were in an internship program that they weren't able to kind of balance that out. Outside activities, and the cost of playing a third sport for some. On a positive note, this spring, we will be, I guess it's bittersweet, celebrating a retiring coach, Mr. Bill Gillen, who's going to be retiring from coaching this season. We're working on a celebration, a gathering. In June, we're gathering stats, photos, thoughts from alumni. He's had so many interactions with athletes as a coach for cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track. And it seems like three-sport coach, but there are multiple, we have boys and girls on each of those teams. And then all of the events, he's an amazing coach and a really great kind of a fixture in our coaching staff. So we'll be missing him next year. So we'll celebrate him. Stay tuned. Middle of June, we're looking at celebrating him. Let's see, field updates. I mentioned the first 2 weeks of practices. We were indoors for most of that, and we did move our JV baseball game tomorrow to Oxford because our field is just not ready. I want to give a big shout out to Roger Raymond. He is essentially our groundskeeper at this point. We do not have someone that's dedicated to helping maintain the grounds. Roger is out there with his tractor. He's doing as much as he can to get these fields lined. Our coaching staff is willing to step in as well to help. Our players are actually going to be helping put up the fencing for the baseball field in the next few days. So thank you, Roger. Coming this spring, we have a Unibank and Sutton Athletic Booster Club scoreboards that will be installed. We tried to get them installed on March 10th, but because the ground was so soft, the equipment could not get out there to remove the old scoreboard or get out there to actually dig for our JV/baseball scoreboard. So we're getting 2 scoreboards, one on the multi-sport field and one on the JV baseball field hockey field. So we're really looking forward to those. So thank you to Unibank and Sutton Athletic Booster Club, who donated over $40,000 for those 2 scoreboards to happen. Let's see. We're already planning for fall 2020 and winter. I am actually doing the basketball schedule this week for next year. We have a renewed spirit and interest in our cheer program. Recently brought on Coach Christine McLaughlin, who's an alumni, a Susie, and she is so excited about this cheer program and is trying to incorporate our younger athletes that do participate in cheer in 6th, 7th grade, and then there's a little bit of a gap similar to our football program where there's a couple of gap years, and she's trying to get some of those student athletes involved. Met with them the past couple of weeks, student athletes that are interested in cheer, hoping for a fall team and actually to do maybe a club if we can't have 6th graders participating in our program, maybe doing some kind of club where they're shadowing the varsity cheer team at the same time. So we're excited about that. We are hoping for a dry spring and summer to alleviate some of our issues in the fall, which I think is the biggest headache for so many people, is that our fields do hold on to that water, being on top of a cow pasture, a farmland, water just sits there. So we want that dry spring and summer. We hosted 5 of our 7 state tournament events this past fall off campus. So it'd be nice to have them at home. We did have plenty of turnout, but we would like to have those at home so they're playing on their fields. Registration for fall will begin in June, and at that time I'll be handing over the athletic department to Mr. Rich Levensavich, who'll be taking over next year as athletic director. He'll work on Meet the Coach Night, which is August, right prior to the start of our season. Season will start August 23rd for almost all of the sports. Football starts a bit early on the 18th. May 1st is our start date to have meetings to discuss who'd like to be on those teams. A save the date homecoming is set for September 16th and 17th. It's a bit early due to our football schedule, and we want to make sure we have a home football game. So 16th and 17th. The week before that, our football team hosts Martha's Vineyard. So it's pretty exciting. So in 2 years, we'll be going to Martha's Vineyard. So it'll be kind of exciting. So 16th, 17th homecoming. We love that event because it does involve not just the student athletes, but the whole community. We have fundraising and booths and a lot of really great activities that weekend.
If I could take a minute.
Yeah.
Christine, I'd like to thank you for stepping up to the plate and being our athletic director. I don't think people understand how challenging that job can be, how many hours are involved, and that many times it's a very thankless job. And you did everything you could to make it the type of job that you believe it should be. And when I say that, what I mean is your focus was on the kids and the student athletes. And I think that's sometimes missed. And I just want to thank you for that because ultimately, that's what we're here for. We're here for the kids. And I think you don't often see that as parents or school committee. You ask about, the turf and the fields and the numbers of kids. But what Christina spent the bulk of her time on is making sure our student athletes had a great experience. So I thank you very much for that.
Thanks. It was great. I loved it.
Ben?
Yeah, thanks. It's a big update. It really is. And I'm not to say that you overly talked or anything. I really do echo what Mr. Friend said. There's a lot that goes on in sports that people I just don't think realize. I think other than obviously if the fields could be addressed, obviously I'm sure you would love that to be the case. Is there anything that you wish we knew or the community knew about sports? I mean, have you ran into a lot of busing issues? Obviously, if we had 1,000-person bus, that'd be great. You could have as many middle schoolers as you want, but.
Transportation has been an issue this year especially. I just had an email from Worcester Public Schools stating that their buses won't be leaving their facilities until 4 o'clock. So they're not going to be getting here for those events if they're traveling to Sutton until later, anywhere, to be honest, until later. So transportation is an issue. I do work really closely with AA Transportation almost on a daily basis, especially when it's inclement weather, to make sure that those buses are there. And sometimes they don't show up, and we have to call and find a bus. And we're lucky that we do have a public school bus that we have a driver that does do some of our runs for us, but we can't get that until 3:45 after he does his elementary run. So transportation's always been an issue. And I know we've done feasibility studies for turf field projects, and then there's some talk of maybe in the future some turf field going on. Anything that would help these students have a season that's stable and not having to move games around as much would be helpful.
Thanks.
Same thing. Thank you. And I guess I would leverage a little bit of what you were saying, Ted, but that I've had an opportunity to see in the community or in the school system in a lot of different ways. And each and every one of them, I think it's very much been focused on the child and well-being. You're an asset to the community, you're an asset to the school system, and if it's not as AD, I hope it's here doing all of the great things you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll echo the same thing that Paul just said, and I see you at a lot of the events. It's great. That's like Ted being at the events and seeing you there, and I don't have to talk to you every time, but you're there, and it's cool. I had a couple questions, actually, I know we're lucky enough to get some dugouts for the baseball team. Have I just not noticed, or do we have softball dugouts in the future?
We do have softball dugouts on the docket. We were supposed to be pouring some cement this spring.
Yep.
We ran into staffing issues. Roger can't be everywhere.
We know.
And he is very much involved in everything we do, especially, I guess, facilities-wise. He wants to make sure that he knows where things are and he does it the right way. And we just haven't had the time to get that done, but it is on the docket to get those softball dugouts.
And then while I have the mic, going by force of habit to the MIAA website, there is a link to Arbiter on there. So if you do just happen to go there, like I always do. I saw we're scheduled to have a track meet in Sutton.
No.
I was like,
we're hosting the track meet, but we're hosting the track meet at another facility.
Got it.
I believe that's versus Hopedale or not Nipmuc.
It is Hopedale.
Yeah, Hopedale.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah, we're playing it at Douglas.
Okay.
Because we can't host, so it'd be great to have a track.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the update, but most importantly, thank you for the last few years. Well done. It's, as Mr. Friend mentioned, a lot of times people don't know how much work goes into all of this. And as you mentioned, it's transportation, it's field availability, it's the other schools, it's all these things. And a lot of times it's just people focus on one sport. And the AD is handling all the sports, all the availability, the transportation, the field conditions. So again, thank you so much. It's a tough job, but appreciate it.
It's an important job, and I think that we talked a little bit about our community and how it's like this, but it is like this, and I get phone calls from people around the town wanting to know the schedules. They do read the TNG, and they know that the schedules are wrong in the TNG, and they want to know why, and they're calling, and our community just wants to be there to support. So we do have a super fan still waiting here. Just wanted to hear the update because he wants baseball season to start now. So we do have a really great community, and athletics is the public face of what we offer, and I really am glad that it's been a great 7 years.
And we've been fortunate that we get a front row seat with these updates, and we've seen all the work that you do trying to create these co-ops and opportunities for kids, because we can't have every sport.
Right.
And as you pointed out in some of these situations, the numbers where we can't have a JV team. But, you know, we have kids that are interested in lacrosse and other sports, hockey, swim, things like that, and you've put in the effort to find who are these schools that we can co-op with, so it's an offering. So, again, greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, next item on the agenda is the fiscal 22 budget update. Welcome, Nancy.
Hello. So in your packet, you should find the year-to-date Munis report.
You just feel the change of tone. I'm sorry.
What are you trying to say? I'm not as fun?
Oh, the budget.
Happier
I'll
name
try
for
to
you.
make it as entertaining as I
And
can.
it's not
the
you,
name
Nancy.
itself
It's just
really doesn't
the
lend
topic.
This is exciting. I changed the Munis report. It's been changed. So at the last meeting, it was requested that I print the Munis report differently, so all the different GLs were broken out in the object codes. So if you look, I have done that. An example that was brought up was on page 34 under custodial salaries. You can see the regular wages broken out and the overtime broken out. And it's like that for every line item. So the information that I reported on March 7th is pretty much the same, except for 2 GLs that I would like to update you on. The first one is on page 37 for electricity for the middle school and high school. So Mr. Raymond and I spoke to National Grid, and it is believed that the usage went over in August and September timeframe due to having the AC on earlier than prior years. Normally, the AC is turned on the week that the teachers returned, but this past year, it was turned on at the beginning of August to avoid any functional problems that we usually have fallen into in the past. So I'm forecasting that these two electricity accounts are anticipated to be over budget by 20,000 each.
It's
And
about-
then
Sorry, it's about 20 grand for a month worth of AC?
So that's what we've been talking about. It just seems like, and we keep pushing back at them saying, this seems odd that that's that much of a spike. And we looked historically, and it just, in my mind, still seems like there's something a little off here. So,
Meter didn't change.
no.
meter didn't change. It's mainly August and September. Once October started to come into play, the usage went down back to, it was a little bit above, but nothing like August and
no-
September.
Sorry, and no impact from the solar panels?
No, the solar
No.
panels are all functioning just as they always have, yes.
Yeah.
No issue there.
They weren't taken offline
No.
for any purpose?
No,
Wasn't all rainy that month?
no.
Yeah, we had, National Grid was in on because we were bidding out the chiller, working on a rebate situation. So we walked them through it, walked them to where the meters were and everything. And he went back and did his research in the office, and that's what he came back with. And he's,
I'm sorry, and I wasn't at that meeting. You know, I think we should go back and just, and I didn't think to ask this question. I don't know if Roger did, and maybe you could ask Roger, but we did have that lightning strike.
yeah.
And I'm just curious if there's a way that they can trace back to see if it could possibly have been something to do with that lightning strike that hit on the back of the building that might have done something to affect the meter. I don't know, but it just seems odd that it's
So
that
it's the
much
middle
money.
school, high school that was over, not the early learning center and elementary school. I don't know how far the National Grid dug into it, but it is something we could revisit.
Just seems like a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the
It is a
period.
lot, yeah.
Yeah. All right, and the other item I wanted to update you on is on page 44 for building other repairs in the early learning center in the middle school. So Mr. Raymond and I both covered these at our last update. At that time, the overages were able to be made up amongst the other GLs in the schools, but unfortunately, this is no longer the case. With all the schools combined, we're currently about 2,000 over. We can still, however, make it up amongst other facility line items, such as general supplies and contract services. Hopefully, the repairs are slowing down. Right now, there's really not any large repairs in the pipeline, so we're hoping that it will stay status quo. But I wanted to kind of update you and let you know where we stand on that. And I'll keep updating you as we move forward through the end of the year.
What are the repairs that we weren't expecting that went over? Generally, I don't know.
Yeah, I have them. So, in the early learning center, we had a chiller repair for 4,000. We had a new chimney cap for 4,000. We repaired a motor for 3,000. Replaced water pipes for 6,000. Replaced a water pump for 5,000. Circuit breaker repair for 2,000. Handheld navigator for 3,000. A lot of RTU replacements was with the compressor. That was 12,000. We refinished the gym floors for 2,000, and we replaced a motor in the furnace for 2,000.
Some plumbing and
It was
HVAC.
a lot of HVAC, a lot of plumbing.
And I guess I'm sort of asking, because I'm curious whether in the next budget, are we not anticipating the unexpected, or do we feel like we've gotten to a space where maybe it's mostly new rooftop units and all the rest?
So my feeling is that this is the first year we've run into this problem. And so, I mean, this, in my opinion, is probably an anomaly. We're gonna be putting in a brand-new chiller. We replaced the whole unit on the middle school. We've practically replaced all the units on the new middle high school over the last several years. So, you know, I think our budget is fine. I'm not too worried about that. And we purposely budget conservatively, and what I mean by that is we budget a little over what we think, and we do that for both building repair and also for the major projects lines, knowing that we just want to make sure that we maintain our facilities appropriately. So I'm very comfortable with what we've budgeted for next year.
And lastly, I wanted to update you that this Wednesday, we'll be presenting to FinCom our budget at 6:30. So we'll be presenting the preliminary budget overview that you approved on January 24th. We have, however, added one additional slide, and I emailed it. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at it today, but I did email it to you.
We emailed it, we met this morning, and I'm sorry for that. It was emailed out today, Paul. And we can certainly meet with you and go over it with you.
I'm looking, I didn't get it,
I can resend it.
or I deleted it also. I get a lot from
I can
Pete
resend
Smith
it.
selling stuff, so that this sometimes happens too fast, but, okay,
I'll definitely resend it. What it does is it breaks out where we currently are in our budget gap and explains how we got to where we are. Our current budget gap is at approximately $198,000. So it shows how we got to that point from when you guys approved the budget.
And that includes an additional $700,000 toward out-of-district placements, which is just such a huge, help for our school. And it certainly saves a lot of programs. And there is a plan to do that again the following year. And as we've said before, we have a significant number of students in 2025 that will be aging out. We don't know what'll follow, but it's that year, I believe, we have over $400,000 of tuitions coming off the books, and then, so we do have a plan to address that. But we still have work to do because we still have a budget gap of approximately $200,000. Now, we probably have that whittled down at the moment with some staffing changes, probably down to about 140,000 right now. But once that's all finalized, we'll update the committee on, because obviously the town has given us $1.2 million. We want to try to do our best to fix that within the budget and find savings in other ways. I just don't think we can continue to go back to the school choice well, because the well will be dry very, very quickly. So we'll continue to keep you updated, and we can make our final decisions like we always do early June for next year.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? Comments?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next item on the agenda is the third reading and adoption of policies section A and B. And this will be in consideration with sections A and B, removing policies ADA and BEDB-E in this item. Yeah, well, first, would somebody make a motion?
I move to adopt the updated policies in sections A and B and remove policies ADA and BEDB-E as presented.
second.
Welcome.
Hello. Just here in case you had any questions or wanted to talk about anything.
Anybody have questions on it? This is our third time around with this. It's been a couple revisions.
I think we're good.
Okay. Roll call vote.
What's me first? Yeah, Gibbons, aye.
Brennan, aye.
Jerome, aye.
Tough side.
That passes 4-0. Thank you for all the work on this. So hold on for one more.
CD.
Now we have the third reading and adoptions of policies C and D. And I entertain a motion to adopt the updated policies in sections C and D as presented.
I move to adopt the updated policies in sections C and D as presented.
Second.
Any questions?
I guess on those, either the subcommittee or Andrea, just the items that had significant change can sort of, 30 seconds on what's,
Superintendent contract.
I'm gonna defer.
I think the only significant change is the superintendent contract, right? CBD.
I think there's maybe 4 or so.
There were a few in.
What we discovered is, when we looked at this, it seemed like significant change, but in the end, it really wasn't. And the other thing that we discovered is MASC just continues to send out these updates. And I think what we realized by having the subcommittee is that we just started deciding, you know what, why are we changing this? It makes no, I mean, what we currently have for a lot of these, there's not an, I mean, to change it to say district versus municipality, that seemed like a lot of work when the content of the policy doesn't change anything. So what we ended up doing with C&D is just saying, let's just keep it the way it is. Let's keep it the way it is. Or let's just, okay, fine, we'll put district instead of municipality. But there was really nothing that I recall that was earth-shattering about any of these policies.
A lot of them were to align with recent changes in procurement law, for example, and so just aligning to what the recent changes in those laws were. There was another around, and that's in particular in Section D, and just the fiscal management of things changed ever so slightly, but again, it's in alignment with the law, so really we're just saying we're following what procurement law might say. And so what might look like a lot is really sometimes just updates to make sure everything's aligned.
Because, so like on the superintendent contract, it said significant change, and I read it and I guess I'm sort of where you're at. I don't know whether I missed the discussion. There was a subtle point to, hey, that sentence made a significant change.
Yeah, I don't
think so. Let me just find it.
I mean, as said, I've always viewed it as that's one of the biggest benefits of MASC, is keeping the policy updated so that we're in compliance with the law. And a lot of times, the changes that we make are, you know, as you said, it's a wording or something, but you know, we have the ability to cater that to fit our district. But
I think what we discovered by having a subcommittee and having a chance to talk through and look at it and say, yeah, we should be looking, for instance, if they change the federal laws or state laws around protected classes, or the law is changed, and those types of things. I think you'd be bogged down for a very long time every year if you worry about every minor little word change that they come up with. And remember, when you think of MASC, they represent Boston and Springfield and Fall River and Worcester and the little town of Sutton. So it was actually very good to have the policy subcommittee, in my opinion. I think we were able to dig in a little bit more and be able to go through the policies much quicker. And we do plan on scheduling, although I said we'll schedule something in April, but I think maybe with your schedule, I think we'll.
We do a couple interviews.
I think we'll push that off a little bit longer. But now that we've gotten our feet wet with how to do it, and Andrea's here and having, being an attorney, I think you can continue that practice. And, we were hoping to have it done by the end of this year, but that's not going to happen. But certainly by Christmas, if you continue to follow this path, you should be able to clean up all of these policies by then.
I think what's most difficult is you go A, B, C, D, take a hiatus, and then there's new things inserted to A, B, C, D, and you never get to L or K or towards the end, so.
I mean, but that being said, some of them are so incremental that you don't have to do it immediately.
Right.
And I think MASC kind of gives you a highlighted, like, hey, this one you should address now.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
To answer your question, Mr. Brennan, the superintendent's contract section was just adding the ability to negotiate a successor contract, which was in a previous policy and like in a different section, and they streamlined it to add it to here since this particular policy is about the contract.
I'm not interested in that anymore.
And if folks are interested in seeing just how significant the changes are, this is in the package. This is the second reading?
Third.
This is the third reading and
Of
adoption.
C and D?
Yep.
We pushed A and B back to a sort of like a fourth reading.
Got it.
Any other questions, comments? Roll call vote.
Gibbons, aye.
Brennan, aye.
Jerome, aye.
Tough side.
That passes 4-0. Andrea, thank you so much for all the work on this.
Thanks, Andrea.
Of course,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, vote school choice. So I would entertain a motion to approve the opening of up to 9.
Oh, could I just
Yeah.
talk about that first? We only have between 9th and 10th grade, a total of 3 students that have shown interest. And what I would recommend is that we open up 9 slots. That would be my recommendation for both 9th and 10th grade. There were several students last year that applied that may still want to join us. And I just think that if they showed the interest before, and we have space in both of those classes, and we spread that out a little bit, would be my recommendation.
Should
So
we open it for
I don't,
discussion?
well, we should make a motion, then we'll discuss. It doesn't change the number?
No.
Still looking for 9? Okay,
That's
so
what I would recommend.
I would entertain a motion to approve the opening of up to 9 school choice seats in grade 9 and 10 as recommended by the superintendent.
I move to approve opening up to 9 school choice seats in grade 9 and 10, as recommended by the superintendent.
Just to clarify, that's 9 positions over
Total.
grade 9 and 10.
Total.
Yep.
Open up 9 combined seats.
Yes.
Combined seats, yep. There could be 9 in ninth grade and none in 10th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
So if I could, we still get a lot of interest in the lower grades. And I think the way we're doing it is the right way. It is a revenue source and an important revenue source to our budget. But I had a meeting today with the Early Learning Center elementary school staff, and we just have to, I don't think you should, again, I'm sharing this because I am leaving, but you can quickly have move-ins and class sizes become much larger. Now, right now, we have really, I think, really good class sizes in our elementary and early learning center. We are anticipating having average class sizes in kindergarten of around 18 or 19, first grade 17, second grade 19, third grade 21, fourth grade 22, and our largest class size is fifth grade with 24. But what I'm concerned with is we've had a larger number of students have been homeschooled that may have gone to an online school, and they are starting to trickle back into the district. So I think our policy of only opening spaces in 9th grade going forward, I think is the appropriate place to add slots going forward.
Questions, comments?
If we're opening up 9 slots total to grade 9 and 10, do we need to set a preference for an order, or does it not matter?
Doesn't matter.
So you don't care?
Nope. Right now, there are 3 names. I don't believe between now and May, we will hit the 9 number. And why I came up with 9 is what we had last year. There was no real rhyme or reason when there's only 3 people, but if you think about it from a dollar and cent standpoint, 9 students is approximately $45,000. So, it's a valuable financial asset for our district.
I'm open to 9 and 10 based on what you suggested. If a different year with different numbers, I'd be talking about 9th grade.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Ted, can you just speak to the drop-off we generally have from 8th to 9th grade each year?
So, in my tenure here, we usually lose, on average, 25 to 30% of the students, either between BVT, private school, Norfolk Aggie. This year, the total number of students accepted to BVT is way down compared to the last 6 or 7 years. There were 17 students. The difference now is the classes are smaller coming through, so the percentage is larger. So 17 is a much better number for us. But even with that, I don't have the number offhand, but our class size will probably be closer to 84 or 85 freshman year. So adding 4 or 5 positions, students slots is certainly something that we can easily manage. I would say that the staffing of our high school, we can comfortably serve, I would say, up to 115 to 120 students and still have very good class sizes. We don't have any 115 to 120 class sizes on the horizon for quite some time. So what we need to do is make sure that we offer great programming at our high school to keep students in district, because we just want to maintain, good, appropriate level of the student body in our high school.
And just, why exclude 11th and 12th graders from?
I just think that if you come in 11th and 12th grade, we're 2 years in. It's hard to break into any school after you've been here for that period of time. Could we open it up? Yes. I'm always cautious of why someone would want to leave their current situation in 11th or 12th grade.
Technically, we have a practice in place where we've agreed that if there's a scenario where a child has been in our district for a large amount of time, and all of a sudden, the parents move out of district, or there's a separation or something to that extent, that we've made it a point to really consider school choice at 11th or 12th so that that child can finish out. The focus is on the child.
Actually, our practice is any student who's in the high school at any grade level, if the family moves, they still can remain in the high school. So that's how we currently operate school choice. And it's a very good way to operate school choice because they're part of the culture to begin with. And it's just a nice way to capture some additional school choice dollars with our own students that we've educated for a number of years.
So, did you have anything else? Good. I really appreciated Mr. Schaefer's comments earlier. That's always been my thought on it. We look at this is how much per student spending we do, but you add another kid and that's not the actual gap. We're not buying another table, we're not buying all these other things, so it's not easy to say like, well, that's the difference. While there's valid points against school choice, I've always been in favor of it, and we made a decision many years ago to say, 9th grade, in some cases maybe middle school, but predominantly 9th grade makes sense. If you start at the lower grades, we could have a boom in town and you have 12 years of potentially higher class sizes. And we've particularly wanted to focus on small class sizes in elementary early learning. And adding 4 or 5 kids, that could change over one summer. And then suddenly you have classes that were at 18, 19 is suddenly now 23. And ask any of the teachers, that will make a difference. So there's a financial part of it. We get some funds in, but also, there's costs. But to me, another thing that isn't talked about as much is, again, we are a small insular community. And to bring folks in from outside of the community, that's an education for our students too, to try to meet new people. I just think that sort of stuff is invaluable. So that's my 2 cents. And again, I appreciate the public input. So any other comments?
I appreciate the input also. It's funny, I would almost describe the same thing, but maybe land in slightly different space. So we're maybe closer than I would have thought. But yeah, I think the 9th grade arrangement has worked out well. I think establishing the culture and group of people that have moved in that space works when you don't have them coming in different places.
Yep.
And I think in the lower grades, what I would have called the degrees of freedom, but as you have to shift based on where, we don't talk about the bubble classes much anymore, but when things like that happen naturally, being able to accommodate it makes sense to me.
Yep. And
Maybe right in the middle.
And I think we kind of, at the time, had recognized that if you do it at the entrance of high school, you're talking 3 or 4 years, and you can handle that a little better. It's not likely you're going to get that population boom, so it's more manageable. All right, if there's no more questions, I would entertain a motion. Not a motion, a roll call vote.
Gibbons, aye.
Brennan?
Jerome, aye.
Tough side.
All right, passes 4-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's update.
Part of me wishes, I hate to say this way, I wish tonight was my last meeting, because that student update tonight from those students was why I'm in education. I mean, those kids were just amazing, amazing, amazing. And I say it all the time to people. I had several people apply for the job of superintendent that I knew, because whenever I go to any meetings with superintendents, I always talk about what an awesome place it is to work. And I mean, when I say awesome, I mean in the confines of being a superintendent, it's awesome. But to me, this whole job has just been about the kids. The kids are great here, and the staff's great. Please don't get, I don't want any staff getting mad at me, but the reason why the kids are great is because of the parents and the staff. So it was just great to hear those kids talk about their experience here. It's awesome. Field trips are starting again, so you're really starting to feel like we're back into what school should be like. So the Early Learning Center is scheduling their field trips for the spring. MCAS starts on April 12th in the elementary school. We had a few glitches when we did the high school. Part of the glitch with the high school was a lot of the kids in the high school still use their own personal laptops, and so they had to take the test on our Chromebooks, so they just weren't accustomed to using them. So we learned from that, and we did a practice test with the middle school, and that went very well. I mean, the great part of having a one initiative, and I think I said this the last time, we'd shut down the library for 2 months because of MCAS test. The kids stay in the classroom, take the test, we do a whole grade, we do a whole school in one day. One test and the next day, and MCAS is over. It's fantastic. So it's really changed how we do testing in our school district. We did our second round of after-school enrichment. 213 students participated in our after-school program, enrichment program. That is amazing. Good for them. I did want to mention that we did have, and I can't think of it right. Well, first of all, let me say that David Fields from Wormtown, he funded all of the food for the Connections Conference. So thank you, David Fields. The guitars and the sewing machines are all being funded. The sewing machines are going to be funded by the PTO, and I'm sorry, not the PTO, but SEFT. And the guitars are being donated. And God, I'm losing my mind. We're going to have a number of students get scholarships from that organization. I can't think of the name of it, Ted McCarthy, always off the computer. He usually would text me the name. I'll have the name the next time, but this organization that funds, has funded now and will be funding somewhere between $700,000 and $800,000 in scholarships for our school district over the last 6 or 7 or 8 years. That organization is going to pay for the guitars. So also those 2 classes are full. There was tremendous interest in those classes, so it's really great to hear. Nancy mentioned that the FinCom meeting will be on April 6th. Coffee with the superintendent, the last coffee with the superintendent will be on April 6th. The high school band concert is this Wednesday. And I just want to send out a shout out to Sophia Hernandez and Joe Boudreau. You may or may not know Sophia Hernandez or Joe Boudreau. Sophia Hernandez teaches high school Spanish, and Joe Boudreau is our English language learner teacher who teaches in all the schools. In order to get recertified every 5 years, all educators have to take 15 hours of SEI training. And so Joe and Sophia took the time to put together a 15-hour course for anybody who would like to take it. They're running it for us, and I just want to publicly thank them for putting that time and effort in. I am taking the course because I do plan on getting certified in case I do this. Thank you. Ken Rapp, he's the person who donated the guitars. So, you know, as I come closer to the end of my career here, you start to realize, you know, when you hear the names of someone's going to be your replacement, it's like, ooh, it's kind of weird. But this, with all the craziness of the last 2 years, this is just, it's just a great place. I tell people all the time, I wish my grandkids could come to school here because I'd feel so comfortable with them coming through here. It's, you know, it's just a really wonderful place to work. So, all right, I'll stop now. Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, it's the Zeni Foundation. Ken Rapp, Zeni Foundation.
You sort of stole what I was going to say, but the kids presenting, all of them on their own wonderful, the community and the staff and administration behind them, helping the kids grow, not just the math and the English, but grow the way they're growing here, is what a phenomenal system. Just thank you to everybody.
I agree.
Miss Corrin is here tonight, or is gone now, but with not on the agenda, not to speak, just to support her students. It's amazing.
Same with Denise Harrison.
Denise Harrison, too. Thank you.
You know, I look at the agenda and then I see how all the presentations were, and you said, you know, the community highlight is, you know, I see something like tonight and just what a great thing to see these kids come up and talk about all this stuff happen and to hear all the work that, you know, residents in the community have done in regards to, you know, the superintendent search, Project 351, so many great things. And then, as you mentioned, you know, to hear Mr. Fields, Unibank, Ken Rapp, you know, all these people so generously donating. It really, I'm going to leave tonight feeling pretty happy. You know, it's a lot of great stuff to hear, and it, you know, a lot of times we can leave here. It can be tough, you know, for various reasons, but this leaves me with a smile. It's just, it was great, so.
I agree.
New business, agenda items, action items? I guess, again, it would just mention 6:30 on Wednesday?
We have to go into executive session.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but
but
FinCom.
6:30 on
6:30
Wednesday?
on Wednesday,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, and it's here as the FinCom meeting, so if there's nothing else, next item on the agenda is adjournment to executive session to discuss contract negotiations with Sutton Education Support Association, SESA, and not reconvene in open session. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved, you said. Second.
All right, all those in favor, roll call vote.
Gibbons, aye.
Brennan, aye.
Jerome, aye.
Tough side.
Passes 4-0. Thank you very much.